Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching The World Today on Channels Television. Now, again, there's cause to heave a sigh of relief concerning the crisis in Gaza as Israel and the Palestinians have begun a fresh 5-day ceasefire, which was agreed on at the end of a 3-day truce. But just as the ceasefire was announced, Israel launched airstrikes in response to alleged rocket fire from Gaza. There were no more reports of violence overnight, and the two sides were expected to continue in direct talks mediated by Egypt in Cairo. The Israelis launched a military operation in Gaza on the 8th of July to stop militant attacks from Gaza.
Residents of the Gaza Strip hope a renewed truce between Israel and Hamas that had largely tempered a 5-week-old war would bring an end to the Israeli and Egyptian blockade on the coastal enclave. Mohammed El Dib, who has sought shelter in one of the dozens of United Nations-run schools, said he hopes the talks will result in a permanent ceasefire with Israel.
We hope that after the 5 days that there would be a permanent solution in order to end the massacre that Israel and its allies are committing. And we ask the Palestinian negotiators in Cairo that they do not come back and not give in until all the Palestinian demands are met.
Hamas and its allies want an end to the Israeli and Egyptian blockade in Gaza. Israel and Egypt harbor deep security concerns about Hamas, the dominant Islamist group in the small Mediterranean coastal enclave, complicating any deal on easing border restrictions. Hayat Romi, another woman seeking shelter in the UN school, said that even if a long-term ceasefire is reached, she has no home to go back to.
These children, after they will have left their shelters, where will they go? We have no homes. Our homes have been struck. We left our homes without clothes or money to spend on our children. Our condition is dreadful.
The heavy losses among civilians and the destruction of thousands of homes in Gaza, where the United Nations said 425,000 of a population of 1.8 million have been displaced by the war, have stoked international alarm. The deal got off into a shaky start with rockets from Gaza slamming into Israel and Israel retaliating with airstrikes. In the southern Gazan city of Khan Yunis, residents inspected a large crater in the ground left behind after an Israeli airstrike on a fruit farm.
We were sleeping when we thought there was a truce, and we heard that it was extended. At about 3 a.m., there was a strike. We don't know what happened. This has ruined a lot for us. Palm trees, clementines machinery, and other equipment was destroyed. All this while, we were safely asleep during the truce.
Hamas denied involvement in firing the rockets and accused Israel of violating the truce, extended at the last minute by another 5 days for the sides to work out a long-term ceasefire mediated by Egypt.
For more on this, I'm now being joined live by the Voice of America's Scott Bobb, who is live in Jerusalem. Scott, thank you for joining us again on The World Today. Now, could you give us an update on the negotiations in Cairo?
Well, the negotiations are continuing. Just achieving this 5-day extension was an achievement. And as your report noted, it was marred by some exchanges. It would appear that both sides would like to keep the peace and keep the calm. They're tired of fighting and tired of the trauma and damage it's causing to their own populations, but yet neither side can back down from their positions, which were also delineated in your report. And so it's a bit of a standoff, and at the moment, this is where we are. Just it seems to be in a temporary truces that people hope will be extended until they reach something more permanent.
So what happens if they fail to reach an agreement? What would the next step be?
Well, when they fail to agree, and sometimes even before that, you have an upsurge of the violence. Israel is committed to answering every attack because its people are very tired of these rockets that have been coming down on their communities for years and years now. not causing a tremendous amount of damage, but yet there are dozens of dead and many wounded and property damage. It's not as much as in Gaza, but the popular sentiment has really risen up against Hamas and these rocket attacks. On the other side, Hamas has been under considerable pressure ever since the arrival in power of Sisi in Egypt, which has really choked off a lot of their supply of funds, in addition to the cutoff of funds to their employees of the municipal and local governments. So both sides are under pressure from their local communities and general publics to be tough and to try to get something out of this. But unfortunately, neither side is willing to give enough to reach an agreement at this time.
Now, Scott, I know you've had a chance to interact, with civilians there. What are they thinking and what is it that they want?
Well, most people, civilians, would like a ceasefire, an end to the violence. They cannot really plan for the future. Humanitarian aid is being prevented from reaching them because of the uncertainty. On the Israeli side, the uncertainty is preventing communities from families going back to their farms and resuming their farming activities. So there's this limbo feeling to a lot of it, and people would like that to end because, as you know, one of the things that most people crave is stability and peace so they can live, raise their families, and work.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. Thank you for the information. We've been speaking to the Voice of America's Scott Bob, who is live in Jerusalem. In other stories, Libya's parliament has called for foreign intervention to protect civilians from deadly clashes between rival militia groups. MPs were meeting in Tobruk in the east because of violence in the capital Tripoli and the second city Benghazi, and 111 out of the 124 voted for the call. Neither the UN nor any foreign power has any current plans to intervene, and Libya has been gripped by violence involving militias that spearheaded the 2011 uprising against Muammar Gaddafi. More than 3 years after the uprising, Libya's police and army remain weak in comparison to the militias who control large parts of the country. Now, shortly after the decree of intervention, the parliament also voted to disband all militias, but the state has no means to enforce this measure. Several hundred people are believed to have died in July and August in an upsurge of unrest, and the fighting has been centered around the international airport in Tripoli. Now, Somalia might be battling to rebuild itself after more than 2 decades of strife, but those living in the capital, Mogadishu, joined the rest of the world in marking the International Youth Day on Tuesday, August the 12th. At a ceremony attended by government officials and dignitaries, young people presented various performances, including music, dance, drama, and martial arts. Young Somalis struggle with conflict-related challenges as well as minimal opportunities for gainful employment and education.
These challenges, Somali youth have shown a great sense of optimism when it comes to the future of the country. They want opportunities to go to school and they want opportunities for employment. And what we also know is that they want to be heard and participate in politics and build the nation.
Now, when we come back on The World Today, you'll find out the lawnmowers do a lot more than just cut grass. Do join us again.